Loot, shoot, and extract like a raiding champ with these 12 tips we wish we knew before playing Ark Raiders. Ark Raiders features PvP/VE gameplay, with you tackling both robotic NPCs and other players in the form of raiders. However, we found that other players are more often than not friend than foe, realizing that cooperation is frequently a better choice than agitation. When you run into another player, assess the situation. Are they taking aim at you? Are they asking you to be cool, either over proxy chat or the game's built-in audio emotes? What have you managed to scrounge up for yourself so far on your run? Some of our favorite moments in the game so far have stemmed from running into other players and then teaming up to take down some of the game's biggest Ark enemies, which are absolutely designed in a way that requires numerous raiders to take them down. Don't miss out on these opportunities by believing the whole world is against you from the jump. When heading out on a run, you'll have two options for gear. One is a custom loadout you craft yourself from loot that you have collected on previous excursions. The other is a loadout of limited random gear that leaves your inventory intact. There are downsides with going this route. The free loadout is an augment, which means you won't be equipped with another augment that increases your carrying capacity or lets you use better shields, for example. It also removes the safe pocket, which is a single slot you have when using a custom loadout that you can put an item in, and if you fail to extract, that item is still guaranteed to make it home with you. Other than that, however, the free loadout is a fantastic option for runs where you either have no objective and are just looking to grab whatever loot you can as quickly as possible, or for runs where you have a non-combat quest objective you're trying to focus on. It can also be a great way to test out loot that you haven't had the materials to craft yourself yet. You even get to keep the gear it gives you if you successfully extract, and the free loadout augment can then be traded in for another augment of your choice. The free loadout is one of Ark Raiders' most useful tools, and you should definitely keep it in mind before you start a run. When you return from a run, there will be an option for unloading all of the loot you collected on the excursion into your inventory. However, if you forget to do this, you can still go into the inventory screen and click this small button. Doing so will dump everything but the essentials into your inventory, so you have space to grab more loot on your next expedition. Stamina management is an integral part of Ark Raiders. You don't want to be caught being shot at without any stamina left. One of the best ways to manage your stamina is to slide, which costs nothing, and your stamina gauge will immediately start filling back up if you've been depleting it. There are skills you can get that also extend how long and far you can slide, which is also determined by the angle at which you're doing it. Ark machines in the game come in all different shapes and sizes, but the most important thing to know is the bigger they are, the harder they are to take down. Unless you have some serious firepower and are partnering up with other raiders, don't even think about trying to tackle some of the more serious spots in the game. When you're indoors, you may think you are safe from Ark machines, which typically roam outside. However, there are turrets, ticks, and pops that survey the corridors of Ark Raiders' interiors. Keep an eye out for blue lights emanating from doorways and around corners. If you see that cerulean glow, an Ark is the source of it. You can very quickly run out of space in your backpack if you're indiscriminately scavenging on a run, but just because your backpack is full doesn't mean you should head to the nearest exit. Loot can stack in your inventory, and the more common the loot, the more components that can stack. If you have items in your pack that state that they simply exist to be broken down into more common components, you can do so while on a run, stacking those broken down parts with other common materials you have, freeing up slots for even more loot. While the main limiter on how much you can carry is how many slots you have in your pack, each item just taking up one slot no matter what it is, the game also does take weight into account, something we didn't actually realize until a red weight symbol appeared above our stamina bar, causing us to drain more stamina with every step and move more slowly. In the loot menu, you can see what your weight limit is, and then each item has a small notifier in the corner of its description menu that tells you its weight. When you're looking to exfiltrate, the main way to do so is through select points on the map, such as elevators or a subway that will take you down into the underground safe space that is Speranza. However, the longer a run goes, the fewer options you have to extract, with those locations closing up at different intervals. When you get down to the final 10 minutes, usually only 1 or 2 exfil points are even available, unless you have a raider hatch key, in which case you can find a raider hatch and extract in the blink of an eye, instead of having to wait roughly 30 seconds for your ride to arrive when calling the subway or an elevator. If you get downed, and you have no one to revive you, if you're right by the extraction point, it might not be game over. While downed, you have a very limited window where you can crawl around on the ground. While doing so, you can still interact with objects, so you can still exfiltrate if you time things out correctly, bearing in mind that no other players come in to finish you off. If you're nowhere near an extraction point, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. But for those that go down right by one, it's worth at least trying to accomplish. Something to keep in mind while playing is that even if you exfil, your gear will still degrade. If you have a weapon that you've leveled up and equipped with a bunch of mods that you don't want to lose, periodically check your weapons, and if you have the parts for it, repair them back to a better condition every chance you get. Shields in particular will take a ton of damage when protecting you from incoming fire, and are usually the first things to break if you're not mindful of this mechanic. If you fall from a tall height, as long as it wasn't such a drop, you can roll right as you hit the ground and cancel out any damage you might take. Drops over a certain height will still deal some damage even if you attempt a roll, but also know we've dropped from what might be a lethal height in any other game, and fortunately in Arc Raiders, those kinds of falls seem to only deal a large chunk of damage rather than ending you outright. We haven't tested exactly what heights are lethal and which are not, but the game seems to be relatively generous in this regard. And those are 12 tips we wish we knew before playing Arc Raiders. For more on the game, including our eventual review, stay right here on GameSpot.